There's a scene in Avatar: The Last Airbender that changed how I view self-forgiveness forever. It's not the obvious moments you might think of. It's a quiet scene between Uncle Iroh and Zuko that reveals why we actually struggle to forgive ourselves, and more importantly, how to finally do it. Before we dive in, let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how we're often kinder to others than we are to ourselves? We forgive friends for massive mistakes, but we beat ourselves up for years over much smaller ones. After my own success crumbled, I spent years trapped in self-judgment and fear, afraid to move forward. Today, we're going to unpack why that happens, and I'll share 3 practical steps to actually forgive yourself, illustrated through one of the most powerful character arcs ever written. And I know it works, because I used it in my own life to finally move forward. Like so many others, I sat in my bedroom, mesmerized by Avatar: The Last Airbender, taking in its lessons, thinking the story was beautiful, but not fully understanding its depth until I got older, until I made mistakes, until I had regrets, until in many ways, I hated myself. For 3 seasons, we watched Zuko chase the Avatar, betray his uncle, and make countless mistakes.
I betrayed Uncle.
But his biggest struggle wasn't with external enemies. It was with himself.
Who are you angry at? Answer the question, Zuko. Talk to us.
Come on, answer the question.
Come on, answer it.
I'm angry at myself!
When Zuko screams that he hates himself, I felt that in the depths of my soul. I remember feeling like I'd failed everyone, my family, my friends, myself, and that reflects a universal truth about self-forgiveness. The reason we can't forgive ourselves often has nothing to do with the mistake itself. It's about what that mistake says about who we are. There's a fascinating psychological concept called self-verification theory. It suggests that we prefer feedback that confirms our existing self-view, even if that view is negative. This is why Zuko struggled to accept forgiveness from others. It didn't match his self-image, meaning at times you might have refused to forgive yourself, not because the mistake was unforgivable, but because holding on to that guilt feels familiar. I spent years romanticizing my potential while being too afraid to act. Why? Because my self-image wouldn't let me move forward. It was easier for me to say, yeah, I did X, Y, and Z in the past, and I know I can do it again. Or, I know I could be successful again. But it was way harder for me to pick myself up and prove that I could be more, to face the pain of my mistakes. It was easier to hold the idea of who I used to be in my mind, to think I know I could do it, than to face the potential that maybe I'm not that person anymore, that I might fail again. There are some deeper things in those statements that I had to explore, like what I attached my worth to, self-love, etc. But we'll just focus on the forgiveness part. I remember a conversation with my therapist that I'll never forget. I had a tendency to always try to push through everything. It worked for me for many years, until I burnt out, and I just couldn't do anything anymore. I wanted to push through and just forgive myself, to just decide to do it. And I learned that it just doesn't work that way. My therapist said, "You've tried this over and over again, and yet you are still here, in the same place. Clearly, it's not working, so why not try something new?" Now, here's where Uncle Iroh's wisdom becomes crucial. He teaches us 3 essential steps to genuine self-forgiveness. 1. Acknowledgement without judgment.
Uncle, I know you must have mixed feelings about seeing me. But I want you to know, I am so sorry, Uncle.
Iroh doesn't minimize Zuko's actions, but he also doesn't add moral weight to them. 2. Separation of identity from actions.
It's time for you to look inward and begin asking yourself the big questions. Who are you? And what do you want?
Your mistakes are something you did, not who you are. This is why Iroh always saw Zuko's potential, even in his darkest moments. And this is the one I struggled with the most. I attached my entire identity to what I did and the actions I took. 3. Growth through understanding.
We need to replace it with an era of peace and kindness.
Your uncle has gotten to you, hasn't he?
Yes, he has.
Real self-forgiveness isn't about forgetting. It's about accepting those mistakes and learning to live with them. It's about understanding why you made those choices and learning from them. The fact that we feel guilty about them or make changes at all, it shows that we are not the people we used to be. When I finally understood what Iroh was teaching, everything shifted. Just like he saw Zuko's potential in his darkest moments, I had to learn to see past my own failures and learn how to live with them. Here's how to apply these lessons in your own life. 1. Write down what you need to forgive yourself for. 2. Ask yourself, would you forgive someone else for the same thing? 3. Identify what you've learned from the experience. 4. Create a specific action plan to prove you've grown. What actions are you going to take to walk a different path? I had shame around the areas I failed in, so I did a lot of therapy, journaling, sitting with myself, and then I faced those fears. This channel is partly me facing those fears head on, proving to myself that I am a different person. And if it doesn't work out, that doesn't make me a failure. It means I got stronger. I faced my fears. I tried. I learned more about myself. And I learned to separate my self-worth from outcomes. And that's a huge win. Remember what Iroh told Zuko, you are not the man you used to be. You are stronger and wiser and freer than you have ever been. I know this is true because I lived it. Your past mistakes don't define you. They refine you. If this resonated with you and you want more lessons like this, subscribe. Otherwise, you may never see this channel again. We explore self-improvement through stories and anime. Share this with someone who might need to hear it. And remember, sometimes the person who needs your forgiveness the most is yourself.